Hello and welcome back to another flute tip of the week. One thing I'm frequently asked but haven't really taken the time to talk about yet are what kinds of resources I use for my daily practice. I'm going to preface this by saying I do not have any sponsorships. I will be gaining nothing from telling you all what books and which composers I personally go to be able to get the absolute best resources for my own practice. So none of this information is going to be based on what I can get from it, but I wanted to talk about these things because they've helped me a lot in my own practice, and I know that they're going to help a lot of other people. Because technique book shopping is very similar to shoe shopping. If you get something that's the wrong size or not quite the right fit, things are going to be severely uncomfortable, and it'll take you a lot longer to get to where you need to go. So with that, let's jump in. Have a catalog of exercise and study books that you can use to focus on specific aspects of your playing. Much like repertoire, you're not going to write everything that you play, and the same thing applies to exercises. Now, you all know me, you know that I have a very big belief and really strongly advocate making your own studies that are specific to your own playing. But you just can't forget about these staples of the flute school of practice when you want to absolutely go your farthest. Firstly, one of the most important names you need to know is Marcel Moyse. He is the father of the French flute school of playing, and he's written a huge range of books that focus on various aspects of your playing. From doing tonal exercises in his book De la Sonorité, where we get the long tone exercises from, to my personal favorite book, Gamme et Arpège, which basically takes every single scale possible, every single arpeggio, and breaks it down into tiny sections and creates these repeated cells so that you're able to approach every single portion of the scale and different variations and patterns from a very, very tiny little segment and really get to know and master every part of that pattern. And I warm up with this every single day. Every day you have a different line of exercises that you're going to be doing. There are 480 different exercises in this book, and he actually writes a kind of schedule for you on the first page. And essentially what you do is every day you do one line, and it takes you into a bunch of different arpeggio and scale patterns and keys, which is great because it means that you never need to worry about doing just the same thing every single day and getting bored of doing these specific scales. Also, because of the different intervals used in various patterns, it's a very good chance to be able to work out your embouchure and the flexibility in your face. So personally, what I do for my tone and my warm-up is I'll start off with the long tones, like from the very beginning of De la Sonorité, and then I'll go on to my Gamme et Arpège studies, where I'm warming up my fingers, and then once in a while I'll do some of the scale patterns very slowly so that I can practice getting the tone perfectly melded between the notes. So it's just getting every single bit of information and value from these studies as you can. Another great series of studies that he has follow the same pattern as his 24 little melodies. And each of these studies is a simple tune that will focus on a specific aspect of your sound. And each melody has a different set of variations. So you'll go from having little to no articulation to more rhythmic variation. And when you approach these melodies, you first need to take a look and think to yourself, what aspect of my sound or what aspect of my technique is this getting me to focus on? Because if you can't approach it from a place of understanding, you're not going to get the full benefit of it. Two other names that aspiring flutists should, as soon as possible, become familiar with are Taffanel and Gobert. They developed through the French flute school and ended up becoming famous pedagogues in their own right. And there's a book that they collaborated on that is very frequently used throughout conservatories or studios of various teachers and professors called Grand Exercice Journalier de Mécanisme. And very similar to the Moyse, this book focuses on portions of scales and goes into a repeated pattern that gradually moves either up or down the range of the flute. As you'll notice with any study book or any focused exercise book, the main key is repetition. Because without repetition, you're not able to see how you develop, and you can't see if you're moving forward or if you're stuck where you are. Another name that flutists should get acquainted with very soon is Trevor Y. He is essentially notorious in the flute world for his approach to technique and his focus on technique being the foundation of flute playing. And he's written a large series of books ranging from tone development to harmonics and then to fingering and repetition. But these books aren't the only ones that are out there. You have Daily Exercises by Reichert. On piccolo, you have Nicola Mazzanti's large book of exercises that goes for everything that you would possibly need to get your piccolo playing right ship-shape. And it's really just about taking a look and seeing what's available to you. I also personally wrote a book of studies for finger independence, and each study focuses on just using 1 or 2 fingers, and instead of just having the traditional method of doing 2 notes or 3 notes in groups where you're doing different rhythms repeated, this spans the whole range of the flute and are basically melodies but solely use those specific fingers that you need to be working on so that you're able to do this repetition, this exercise of rhythm without getting bored of it. I'll put a link to that playlist in the description of this video so that if you're interested, you can take a look. But all of this is to say that there are a lot of options out there that are exercise books and not necessarily study books. The difference between a study book and an exercise book can be that studies are little pieces that focus on a few aspects of your playing. Meanwhile, an exercise book focuses on just one thing and repeats it and gets you to focus on it entirely. I guess another way to think about it is an exercise book is to studies as warming up before hockey practice is to being in hockey practice. You do the warm-ups for your specific muscles, you get all the stretching done so that you are ready to do different focus in a larger setting, and that is still before you actually go out there and play the proper match. Of course, I'm going to talk about hockey. Just a few more weeks. Don't give up on writing your own studies, don't give up on creating your own exercises on the fly, but know what your options are and get a good range of resources that you can draw from at will. And get the physical books, because even if they're very expensive in the shops, there are very many ways to be able to get them secondhand, and these will last you a lifetime. So again, that tip was have a catalog of exercise and study books that you can use to focus on specific aspects of your playing. I hope you find this week's tip helpful. Just put down in the comments if you need me to write down the names of these composers and flutists who wrote the books, but they will be very easy to find just by looking into any kind of online flute catalog. I'll see you all next week. Flute happy, exercise happy, but don't smoke a pipe like Moise did. Looks pretty cool on an old French dude, but not the best for your lungs. Have you ever had a day where all you want to do is curl up, lie on the couch, put on a hoodie, and feel like a druid? Or just, be comfy and have some hot chocolate? That's been the last few days for me.